Hello, good evening to everyone once again. Welcome back to day 5 of the One Health Basics course, a course that was started somewhere Monday. Yesterday, I believe you had quite a wonderful presentation from Professor Benjamin Emekwe, who is from the Veterinary Medicine School and from KNUST. And then Professor Christian Drosten, who is from the Charité University in Berlin. And they spoke on diagnostic methods to detect viral pathogens and animal-human disease surveillance, which I believe you really enjoyed very well. I believe a lot of you will be asking, what is G-WAC and who is organizing this program? And what is this program meant for, and why talk about One Health? So in today's program, we have two wonderful speakers, one of whom you've heard already, but will come in again. So we have Dr. John Amoesi, who is the senior lecturer at the School of Public Health, KNUST, and also director of the center at KNUST. And then Dr. Linda Bacha Deborah, he is also a senior lecturer at the Clinical Microbiology Department, School of Medicine and Dentistry, and the scientific coordinator for the G-WAC program in KNUST. So I will want to hand over to her to begin with her presentation, and then afterwards, Dr. John Amoesi will come in, and then we will have some few discussions for those who want to know about G-WAC, the opportunities available for G-WAC, the incentives, and how you can get on board with this. So Dr. Linda Deborah, I hand over to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Owusu. And I'm happy to continue the One Health Basic. This afternoon, we're going to talk about incentives and disincentives for action, coming from the G-WAC perspective. So basically, we're going to talk about activities of G-WAC. For those of you who have heard about G-WAC, who want to know more about G-WAC, and how you can participate in G-WAC activities. Okay, so the establishment of G-WAC is very timely. It actually came at a time when understanding the role of the global health in contributing to achieving the Sustainable Development Goals was an issue. And then we also even realized that mitigating these factors was the pandemic, which is in there and making it very critical. And so G-WAC set up a concept that was based on the One Health approach towards promoting global health. And this was in the direction of mitigating the drivers of pandemics and strengthening the health systems. Okay, so G-WAC set out 5 objectives. And the first objective was to offer a joint global health PhD training program. And this joint program is between the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology and the Berlin University. And we also sought out to undertake short professional development programs in pandemic prevention, one of which we have enjoyed since the beginning of the week, and also to update existing curricula of the master's program. So G-WAC again sought out to train graduates and prepare them to become academic and political leaders, and even become advisors of global health and pandemic prevention. The third goal was to establish research streams in global health and pandemic prevention, and to enhance cooperation between existing national, international partners in academia, public administration, policymakers, civil society, and other stakeholders. As we move on, I will show you activities that G-WAC has undertaken to be able to meet these goals that it sets for itself. So we are hoping that G-WAC becomes a center of excellence with expertise in global health and pandemic prevention in African region, and then even radiates internationally. So the activities of G-WAC is what has been enumerated here. We have PhD program. We offer PhD scholarships. 3 to 4 year scholarships are provided. And these scholarships are funded by the German Academic Exchange Service, the DAAD. And then we also undertake research stays. We have bi-directional research stays between Germany and KNUST. And also we have research stays between West African universities and KNUST. We also provide short courses, one of which we have been through since the beginning of the week. And we also undertake biannual West African policy dialogues, engaging stakeholders and policymakers to be able to get policies across to be implemented. Public lectures are organized by the G-WAC, and then digital symposium and colloquium. All these activities are geared towards educating and then communicating what the preparedness of pandemic would have to be, and how we should be particular, and what we should do to be able to stand up against upcoming global health issues, any epidemic or any pandemic that might arise in future. So in G-WAC, we have research groups. And these research groups span over veterinary, through medicine, through public health, to social science. And this is because even as we are having this workshop and we're looking at the One Health approach, this is highly represented in the context of G-WAC. So we have 7 research groups. We have the bacteriology and parasitology group. We have community engagement group. We have the digital health. We have health systems and health economics group. We have virology and diagnostics, zoonosis, epidemiology, and then surveillance group. So all these groups have research group leads that are at KNUST, and then we have research group leads in Germany as well. So G-WAC has been in existence for 2 years now. And within these 2 years, we have awarded 14 PhD scholarships in different health-related programs. And these PhD scholarships are in these 7 research groups that I mentioned earlier. So this means that these G-WAC PhD students are really going to work interdisciplinary, because even within one research group, we have multidisciplines. So for instance, if we take the digital health research group, for example, we have students working in the area of establishing or bringing about digital tools that will be able to, for surveillance. And then the surveillance is mainly on disease pathogens, and these disease pathogens will have to be verified in the lab. So eventually you have the lab aspect, you have the the social science aspect, we have the digital aspect, and so it spans over a range of disciplines. And this warrants interdisciplinary supervision for students in GWAC. And so for GWAC, we have this interdisciplinary supervision, and we think it is a good thing. It provides the students with access to different experts and different disciplines that will broaden their horizon, and they are able to acquire a lot of knowledge in that regard. However, one may see it as a disincentive, you know. So in this instance, it means that you are supposed to have supervisors who are agreeing amongst themselves and who are working together very well. And if these agreements are not met, then there's going to be a delay in the students' work, which we don't want. And we also know that if you are going to do an interdisciplinary project, it is difficult to be able to assess the health impact holistically, even though you can do individual assessments for that. So what we do in GWAC is to establish a supervisory agreement. So we have an agreement between the various supervisors, and their roles are clearly stipulated in this agreement so that we are not able to go into disagreements to delay the students. So there's also intersectorial partnerships. As I mentioned, the GWAC spans over a range of disciplines. We have veterinary, public health, social science, medicine. And so we have students who are on these projects having to interact with all these areas. You have a relationship within the GWAC itself. Even within the GWAC itself, we have already 7 research groups, and we have individual students, and there are always interactions with them. So you are even able to understand what each other is doing. And then also we know that the GWAC, together with GWAC, we have 4 global centers. So we have the GWAC, the German West African Center for Global Health and Pandemic Preparedness and Prevention. And then we also have the Central African Infectious Disease and Epidemics Research Alliance. We have the German Latin American Center of Infection and Epidemiology Research and Training. And then we have the Pan-Asian Coalition of Epidemic and Outbreak Preparedness. These are global centers that are all sponsored by the DAAD. And there are always interactions amongst us, there are interrelationships amongst us, the GWAC principal investigators and the students as well. So we are able to interact with each other, and that becomes very beautiful because we then are all working towards pandemic prevention and preparedness, and that is from the global perspective. What could be the disincentive? We have to really coordinate our activities very well. If we do coordinate it very well, it becomes a very healthy competition between us, and then the output is of great success. However, if coordination is not properly done, then it becomes unhealthy, and that is not what we expect. And so we have to work towards that diligently. Students find themselves in a situation where they really will have to be smart to comprehend and appreciate all these partnerships that are going around. So in a GWAC, we also have what we call research stays. And these research stays are exchanges. So student exchanges between Germany and KNUST. And here we have the master's students traveling from Germany to KNUST to be able to familiarize themselves with the facilities that are at KNUST, to be able to shape up their research ideas at KNUST. And then we also have master's and PhD students from KNUST who travel to Germany. We have Masters and PhD students who also travel from West African universities and to KNUST. Postdoctoral fellows are also included. So what we do is that we put out a call every year. So since we started, we have been putting out these calls for applications for students who would want to stay in Germany, for students who want to stay at KNUST. The maximum duration of stay is 3 months. And currently we have a call that is out there. If you go to G-WAC website, you will see the call, and this call is expiring on the 30th of March 2023. So if you are interested, you can go there right now and read about the eligibility and then apply to be able to enjoy any of these research states that is applicable to you. So yeah, of course, within these research stays, you have access to other research facilities. So you have access to other libraries, you have access to other laboratories in our partner institutions. And at this point, I would like to mention that the partnership of G-WAC is between the KNUST, Kumasi Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, and then the Berlin School of Public Health, including the Technical University Berlin. And then we have the medical faculty in Bonn. So these three institutions are the collaborating and the partnering institutions that come together to form the G-WAC. So if you are doing the research stays in Germany, it means you are going to any of these institutions that have been mentioned. And if you go there, you have access to the resources that are there as well. Last year, we have individuals, the students who went on research stay, and they had the opportunity to see a lot, including the Robert Koch Institute's museum, which was very educational for them as well. Yes, within this research stay, of course, you have the international exposure that gives you the ability to network a lot. There's global networking. So like, as I mentioned, the other global centers are also involved. So you are also able to meet individuals from other global centers and even from within yourself, from the collaborative institutions. You are also to make good networking, and you collaborate and you network on all levels. So the students who traveled last year, they networked on all levels: social level, academic level, and any level that you can think about. And these are some of the pictures from the research stays that they did last year. Yes, of course. You also have the opportunity to attend international conferences. So these were able to attend the all-famous World Health Summit, European Public Health Conference, and many other conferences to be able to, to portray your work and to go ahead, network, collaborate, and establish more partnerships. Yeah, one would say it's all good, but well, there are some issues that we would want to also look at. At this point, if you are a student and then we have given you all these advantages, you have access to laboratories, you have access to libraries, you have access to all the facilities that you would need, then there's pressure on you to deliver. You have no excuse not to deliver. And so this is something that students normally wouldn't really want. They would want to have some leeway, but no, because you have everything you need, you have no excuse. And then at that point, if you have abilities, it is known. If you are unable, it is also known. But then also, to our dismay, even from the from the last research group research stage that was done, we have issues of other students saying that the travel is too much, because even this year they will have to travel again. So every year they are traveling and they are polishing up their research and they have all the resources they need. but some others would say that the traveling is too much. G-WAC also provides short courses. And some of these short courses is one that we are doing now, the one we started since Monday, which is the One Health Basics. We have also organized a number of short courses. We have some other short courses. We have the Good Clinical Practice training that is organized in collaboration with the ARNTD. And this good clinical practice is very good, especially for individuals who would want to undertake clinical trials. It gives you, it equips you to be able to undertake a very good research under very good conditions. It is monitored by the Food and Drugs Authority, and they are it's a highly regulated body that ensures that the right training is given, so that if in an issue or in a situation of a pandemic or epidemic or any global health issue, if research has to be undertaken in terms of clinical trials, then we are sure that we are channeling out a very good data, and we are informing a very good decision because we have been trained very well. We also have training on sample back, please. Let's go back. We also have training on sample collection and processing. And this training, I think, is very, very important. There was an issue, an encounter that I would like to share that also made this short course very important, and I think we should all participate in, is the fact that during the COVID, there was a visit to my house. So there was the COVID task force in my house, because there had been a contact with a case. So as they were doing the contact tracing, they came to my house and they needed samples. They pulled out the sample collection tube, and then samples had to be given. But exactly what sample are they talking about? Sputum or saliva? And then the answer was any. So any was given to this task force, and they left. They left, and ideally, feedback was supposed to have come 4 days after. No feedback came after 1 week, and a follow-up was done. The sample was nowhere to be found. Whatever happened, we are not sure. Whether it was mislabeling, whether it was spillage in the lab, whatever happened, it did not, the feedback never came. So then it became very important, because even at that level, when we sort of engage persons who are not so skilled to go around taking samples, we really also will need to train them very well, so that they are able to get at first the first sample, they are able to preserve the samples very well, they're able to process the samples, and then we are able to get a very good data out of the sample to inform the decisions that we will make. Health technology assessment training has also been conducted, and this was conducted also in collaboration with the BOA project and a PAGEL project. And so there was training of health professionals to enhance their performance and work output. So health professionals were trained in this regard. And now we are on the One Health Basics. We will proceed to do the advance. It will be communicated to you, and I will entreat you all to participate fully, so that together we will be able to work towards the pandemic preparedness that we all look forward to very much. G-WAC provides financial support. Of course, G-WAC is sponsored by the DAD. So finance is not a problem. Of all our activities that include the PhD scholarships, including the research stays, including all the things that we organize, the policy dialogues, and all the activities, the lecture series that we do, colloquium, symposium that we do as G-WAC, DAD sponsors. So we don't have any issue with financial stuff. what do we have to do is to produce impactful projects that is of public health importance. And that is what G-WAC seeks to do. And so there's no excuse for delays and there's no excuse. All we have to do is to deliver and come out the best. G-WAC students are monitored. So there is a strict rule for monitoring, and training is for the students to know how to obey deadlines. And if you have all these monitoring systems in place, certainly there's going to be timely supervision of students' thesis. There's not going to be delays. But students sometimes will think that their demand is too high and the expectations are too high. You don't have time for excessive social activities. The word is excessive. So we don't have time for excessive social activities. By the end of year one, you are expected to have your topic and your synopsis should be ready. And then from the year 2 and 3, you provide a progress report annually. We expect you to be done by year 3, but in the worst case, in the 4th year, you should not go above it. So this is a monitoring system for G-WAC students, and we think it is helpful indeed. So in summary, G-WAC offers opportunities, great opportunities to empower individuals in preparation for global health, epidemic, and pandemics. And when I say individuals, we realize that this included health professionals, this included master's students, PhD students, postgraduate students, and the activities we have cover them all. And so even stakeholders are involved. And so we think that we would be able to work very well together. So far, G-WAC has been in existence for 2 years, and we have 14 scholarships provided for PhDs. And we have done research stays, 24 in total. 8 of them came to KNUST, and we have 16 of KNUST going to Germany. Public lectures, we have organized 2 already. And then from our biannual policy dialogue, G-WAC was established 2 years back. So we had our first one last year, and the next one will be next year. And this policy dialogue brought on board a lot of policymakers from the West African sub-region, top-class policymakers that included the WHO, reps from WHO Afro region, the African CDC, and all the big policymakers in health that you can think of nationally and from the West African sub-region. So even though G-WAC has been in existence for just two years, we have made strong impacts, and we welcome all of you on board so that we are able to play our various roles, and together we will prepare to fight the next global health condition, epidemic, and pandemic that may arise. You can visit our website, GWAC.org, and information is available. We have our calls there from time to time. And if you are interested to join the G-WAC community, if you assess yourself, you know how to join. Whether you would have to join as a research stay, you would want to join on a public lecture series, you want to join on short courses, you are welcome. So I would say thank you very much for your attention. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Linda Bacha-Deborah. So grateful for your talk. I believe that viewers, you will have questions to ask. I heard a lot about collaborations in German universities, funding available for students, something that is very difficult in our setting here. Research stays being organized, 24 so far. In terms of exchange programs and public lectures. So I believe that You'll be jotting down some points as we prepare to get to our next speaker. So, organizers, maybe you can take about 1 or 2 minutes break, and then we can move in to Dr. John Amuesi, who will be joining us shortly to give us the next presentations. A quick break from organizers. Thanks. Okay, so once again, welcome to the next session. As I mentioned to you earlier, we have with us the acting director of the German West African Center for Global Health and Pandemic Prevention. He's also a senior lecturer at the School of Public Health with a specialty mostly in issues of One Health, global health as well, on conducting a number of research on infectious disease, epidemiology, surveillance, and has been involved in a number of activities that we have done. So Dr. Muesi will be talking to us about collaborations in G-WAC and how we can take advantage of opportunities available for us to be able to get in touch with people that are willing to support and help us and take our research and link up with various agencies that would be willing to support our students and young individuals that are willing to at least chart some career path. So I welcome you, Dr. John Amuesi, to come in and then take over the next session. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mike, for the wonderful introduction. And thank you very much, Linda, also for that presentation that you made, speaking to the incentives and disincentives to collaboration. I think it's really important to really deliberate on what these incentives and disincentives are, because the reality on the ground when it comes to collaboration is that it often doesn't translate, what is on paper doesn't often translate into reality. So having some understanding a priori of what challenges could be is very important, not only for G-WAC, but also for all who are participating in a course like this. So we believe that part of what we can do is to share our experience and the knowledge we've gained in this collaboration, and that can hopefully be translated to you as you engage in One Health, global health collaborations, because more often than not, there's no need to reinvent the wheel. And if you have a clear understanding of what incentives and disincentives are, that could be helpful in making sure that whatever collaboration you're engaging in is successful. So if I can have my slides shared, that's correct. That's working well. Thank you very much. I will proceed from there. So I'm going to be speaking about G-WAC, and it may be surprising, but till now, maybe we've not gotten into a lot about what G-WAC is about. So I'm just going to go over some of this, what G-WAC is about, so you have a clear idea. And then I will also briefly touch on some more general issues to consider when collaborating in global health and in One Health for that very specific reason. So what you can see here is just the smattering of partners that you have in G-WAC, and even at the KNUST level, it is really multidisciplinary in that it is situated within the College of Health Sciences. But in there, you have the medical school, the vet school, the School of Public Health, and the School of Allied Health Sciences, all engaged in this collaboration. Beyond that, there are others also from elsewhere who are engaged in supporting G-WAC. Now, just so that we can keep things in perspective, I have once again invoked this definition of One Health, which I spoke of on Monday. And I repeat, it is, this is the OLEP definition, the One Health High-Level Expert Panel definition, which is currently what I'll call the de facto definition of One Health. It's a definition which not all may agree with holistically or completely, but it's very important that all persons engaged in global health and One Health are able to coalesce around and promote this definition, for the important reason that we need to have a common baseline, a common reference on which we build our collaborations and also measure the output of activities. In fact, having this baseline is even more important for determining what we want to do, and therefore being able to measure, as I said before, the outcome thereof. Without this, it becomes very difficult, and we can end up in a situation where we are almost comparing apples and oranges, and this is not something that that we desire. So I read One Health is an integrated, unifying approach that aims to sustainably balance and optimize the health of people, animals, and ecosystems. And when you think of this, you realize that balancing is not easy. Balancing has never been an easy thing to do. Once you recognize this, you're able to immediately put in place systems and structures that allow this balance to be successful. I continue reading it. It recognizes the health of human, domestic, and wild animals, plants, and the wider environment, including ecosystems. They're closely linked and interdependent. Obviously, when you read this, humans and animals, not just animals, but domestic and wild plants and the wider environment, by default, you're already invoking a wide range of stakeholders from very disparate disciplinary or professional backgrounds, which again speaks to the need for this balance and the need for this collaboration. The approach mobilizes multiple sectors, disciplines, and communities at varying levels of society to work together to foster well-being and tackle threats to health and ecosystems while addressing the collective need for clean water, energy, and air, safe and nutritious food, taking action on climate change, and contributing to sustainable development. So with that definition in mind, I just want to also show this schematic, which I showed on Monday. It's an illustration of this definition of One Health. And again, what you see as the key thing here is collaboration, and you also see coordination, and you see communication and capacity building to be able to do One Health. So intrinsically, collaboration is just an integral part of what one will do in global health, and more importantly, One Health, for that matter. So just to give you a bit of G-WAC so that you see how we seek to engage in collaboration, in communication, and then ultimately in the capacity building, because the main thrust of G-WAC is capacity building. Now I'm emphasizing this also because we have recently put out a call for applications to research stays, including research stays in Ghana and research stays outside of Ghana, to eligible candidates. So it just shows how committed we are, as Linda already pointed out, to this aspect of capacity building and doing One Health. We have anchored our activities within the Sustainable Development Goals, and you'd realize that even in the definition of One Health, there is a very clear mention of sustainability, and there's a very a clear mention also beyond just sustainability, also of equity and other important considerations. Very specific with G-WAC, we have conceptualized this around drivers of future pandemics and what it would take within a health system to be able to withstand the shocks that will come from future pandemics. If you are following very closely the lecture by Professor Christian Drosten and Professor Emekpe yesterday, you would realize that there is a shift from the ideal of pandemic prevention to pandemic preparedness, bearing in mind that the ability to prevent pandemics, or to be more precise, to prevent spillovers, is very limited. At best, what we can do is to prepare for pandemics or prepare for spillovers in such a way that hopefully these spillovers do not turn into pandemics, and if they do, the measures can be put in place so that they do not have as heavy a negative impact as the COVID did on the world. So in identifying these drivers of future pandemics, we have invoked climate change, wild habitat encroachment, virus mutations, wildlife trade, land degradation, NTD and NCD burden. And you realize that throughout this entire week, we have focused our lectures on these specific areas in order just to give you an understanding of how they all play a role. And then the effective pillars of health system, or pillars of resilient health systems, include effective governance, sustainable financing, reliable health information, appropriate human resource capacity, effective medicines and technology, and agile service delivery approaches. And you'd realize in the presentations also earlier this week by Professor Willem Quentin and Professor Reinhard Busse, they spoke to some of these, both from a practical and a theoretical basis. And if you'd also recall the lectures by Prof. Deborah and Prof. Akim Hirov, they spoke to the issues around NTDs and the roles that these also play. So essentially what we've done is to try to cover in this course all these drivers of future pandemics and pillars of resilient health systems within the context of One Health, because what we believe is that the main thrusts to achieving or to understanding these drivers of future pandemics, and then to building pillars of resilient, or building on these pillars of resilient health systems, the main avenue is the One Health approach. So as G-WAC, we have put together a set of activities, and Linda already spoke to many of these in terms of the inputs the activities that we have outlined, including the PhDs and the research stays and all the exchanges that are taking place within G-WAC. The ultimate objective is that we would have professionals who are truly well-rounded in their understanding of global health and of One Health, and therefore can play a significant role in addressing pandemic risk. I always say that one good way of looking at this kind of training is not to teach you to be a jack of all trades, because this would be an exercise in futility, but rather to position you so that you know enough to know what you do not know, and what you need support from others to be able to be successful in your wider endeavor. And I think this is a very important way of framing things, so that in One Health, this idea of One Health is everything and anything can be very quickly debunked, and rather this focus on being able to bring together professionals from different disciplines in a way that is mutually respectful, beneficial, and that recognition of a true need for collaboration towards success can be established. You'd agree with me that many collaborations are forced, in the sense that, well, they said we should work with social scientists, or they said we should work with lab people, or they said we should work with public health people, and it's only being done because it's been forced, but not out of a genuine belief and understanding that we are limited in our knowledge and in our capacity, and to be successful, we really do need this multidisciplinary approach, or the input from others who may be from different disciplines. So this is just a quick overview of some of what we've been able to do. Maybe I should just go back a bit to show you how in 2022 we started with our PhD students actually in 2021, and the first cohort have already completed their PhD coursework, and so they are PhD candidates and have started, most of them, with their data collection already. With the exchange programs also, there have been exchanges to Germany, and there will be more this year. As I mentioned, the call has been launched just, I think, this week or last week, and so do check to see if you're eligible, and we will look forward to receiving your applications. We've had doctors, we've had nurses, we've had allied health professionals. We've had several from different backgrounds being able to participate in these exchanges to Germany, and we've had others coming from outside of Ghana, also from Nigeria and from Germany so far, and even from other parts of Africa for some of the short courses that we have organized so far. In fact, we've had people coming from Ethiopia, from Uganda, from the DRC, and from other places for some of our short courses. Then with the scientific research itself, this is focused largely around the PhDs, and then there is the international networking, which involves not only the exchanges but also very formal engagement with key stakeholders. And Linda made mention of our policy dialogues. We held this last year in December. We're going to hold this again next year, not this year. We're also interfacing with the other DAD-sponsored centers to co-organize activities. So really trying to drive this idea of multidisciplinarity and interdisciplinarity. So we are very intent on making sure that this whole idea of G-WAC is relevant and highly sustainable. And so part of what we engage in is trying to measure the burden of disease and to use this as a reliable predictor of pandemic trajectory. We want to improve testing capacity, because you really need to be able to test to see what is going on. We've heard recently of the outbreak of Marburg in Ghana last year, most recently the outbreak of the Lassa fever. The argument is that these are truly novel occurrences in Ghana, or were they there all along, but just the diagnosis was being missed, and now that we've been more primed following the COVID pandemic towards paying attention to testing, are we now only seeing better? But what matters is that it is clear that being able to test, to identify, early enough and to put in place measures, including therapeutics, to address not only clinical and health outcomes but pandemic risk is so critical. And so, again, we're focusing a lot on the training, the knowledge generation, but also a lot on the serving of the community and engaging with the communities at different levels. And this has been an integral part of the work that we have been doing as G-WAC. This just give you an idea of the governance structure of G-WAC, perhaps something not to really bother so much about. And I would encourage you to focus more on this part, which I'm circling, which is the research groups that we have in G-WAC, which is the health systems and health economics, the digital health, the community engagement and social sciences, epidemiology and surveillance, the virology and diagnostics, the bacteriology and parasitology, and then the zoonosis groups. And the idea is that these are all closely interlinked in the PhD programs and the master's programs, and also in the network and exchanges. So this is just to show you the real breadth and depth that we have as G-WAC. So now focusing more on some of these general incentives and disincentives for collaboration, I have anchored this within what I presented on earlier on Monday. So it's some form of a recap where I spoke to intersectoral collaborations. And I think if we look at it from these three angles, which I spoke to earlier, governance priorities, economic priorities, and then the knowledge priorities, it's very helpful in being able to see how what the incentives or disincentives are to collaboration. And as I mentioned, collaboration does not happen automatically, and the collaboration should not also be forced. Collaboration should be built on a genuine recognition of need and a recognition that a collaboration would result in a better outcomes and output. It may take something away from recognition and from visibility of individuals or of disciplines, but certainly the overall objective is not for greater visibility, but it is for real impact and for real output. And certainly this is accentuated or enhanced when there is collaboration. And I mentioned earlier that being able to establish a globally shared ethos around One Health is critical. And this is why I spoke about the need for us to coalesce around this definition of One Health, which we may have differences or some disagreement about, but it is so critical, I re-emphasize this again, that we do coalesce around this One Health high-level expert panel definition of One Health because it is critical to our success. And another thing is just being able to look at aligning some of these One Health policies across various sectors, because once it's aligned, then it's easier for collaboration to take place because everybody sees, quite easily the role that they have to play in the collaboration. And it's not that this is maybe coming from the health sector or even within the health sector, coming from the human health sector, or coming from the vet health sector, or coming from the environmental health sector, but really as something that everybody truly has a role to play in. So again, with more governance priorities, to develop these action plans, and I spoke on Monday about Ghana not yet having an action plan, and also I mentioned how there are draft action plans that have been put together, and I did caution that these action plans should, the way they are put forward, not even the content, but the way they are put forward and who puts them forward are very critical to the degree to which they will be accepted. They should not be seen as something coming from one sector or from one discipline, but it should be something that everybody is put together or is presented as coming from these multiple stakeholders, so that the buy-in is much easier. Think about also the economic priorities, which I touched on. This conundrum of having to use the inadequate measure of development progress being GDP, yet trying to push back and call for the establishment of One Health friendly metrics for measuring progress. So it's like you are condemning the tool, but you still use it to the best of your ability while trying to find a better tool. And there's no other way of doing this except by collaboration and understanding. Because ultimately, if you go to a government, they'll ask you, what does this mean for my GDP? And if you're unable to explain how that would work, then you'll have problems. At the same time, you need to make them aware that using GDP as a measure is insufficient. All right. And at the same time, you really press towards being able to innovate in financing models. And I spoke a bit about all these novel financing approaches, including health bonds, and various advanced market commitments. We know the unit aid funding model using the levy from airline tickets and so on and so forth. But we'll have to think very carefully about innovative financing mechanisms. And then finally, the knowledge priorities. If we're able to inculcate this understanding of the need for collaboration in One Health right at the basic level of education, it will go a long way in the future for One Health to be recognized de facto as for everybody. And so we strongly encourage this teaching of One Health and the concepts of One Health, not only at the tertiary level, but at the secondary and even at the primary level, as a decisive measure towards improving the culture of collaboration around One Health and around global health. This would call for a modification to global curricula, global education curricula. So it should not be something that is pursued only at a country level or at a regional level, but more importantly at a global level, so that no region is left behind in this education around One Health at the grassroots level, grassroots educational level, and then also the community level of engagement around One Health and global health issues, also most critical to enhancing collaborations. So as I said previously on Monday, there are barriers, there are incentives to collaboration. A lot will hinge around some of the governance measures that are put in place, because they invariably constrain the way in which we do our work. A lot will depend on the finances, the economic issues, if there is the finance to engage in these collaborative activities. So we need to be innovative in a way that the financing or the funding is present, and the financing mechanisms also are sensitive to all the constraints that we face globally, and also to the changes that are taking place. And then also that the education around collaboration and its intrinsic benefits to global health and One Health are also present, and we need to be ultimately deliberate about this. So in conclusion, I'll say G-WAC will be an avenue for all multi-sectoral partners to significantly augment our contribution to accelerating the quantity and quality of trained professionals who understand the complex interplay of factors which contribute to the pandemic. And for this course, already having over 1,000 people registering, I think that we can definitely check that box, that we are moving towards increasing the quantity and quality of trained professionals who understand the complex interplay of factors which contribute to pandemics. And with that, I'd like to say thank you very much and hand over back to you, Mike.
Thank you very much, Dr. John Amwesi. That was a lovely presentation. And I want to believe that viewers may have some few questions that you want to ask. If you want to know something about G-WAC, if there are some presentations that some issues raised that you don't seem to understand concerning student mobility, issues of funding, issues of opportunity to get in and get something doing within the G-WAC programs, You can ask. You can just put your comments and questions in the comment section, and Dr. Moesi and Dr. Linda Bacha Deborah will engage you. After engaging the two, we move on to the Q&A session where we have the moderators or the session from Monday to Friday engage you on issues that you don't seem to understand or questions that you want to find out. So if there are any questions, you could just put them on the chat, and then we can get our facilitators quickly attend to this. So my questions are to Dr. Linda Bacha. When do applications to the PhD programs open? And two, how does one become a member of the research groups? This is from Chinibua and Albert. To Linda, it's to you.
Okay, thank you very much for your question. With regards to the first question, we had applications open for the two cohorts of the PhD students already in 2021 and 2022. For the first funding phase of G-WAC, we would want to pause on with PhD applications for now, and then we would resume in the second funding phase. With regards to the second question, yes, certainly you can be a member of any of the research groups. So the research groups are 7 in all. You have to assess yourself and look at your area of research. And then you get into contact with any of the research leads. The research stays are available. And so when the research stays are available, right now, if you go to the G-WAC website, we have the applications, the call for application open. And so you can check also the research groups over there. And if you go, you are able to see all the details about the research groups, and then you can align to a research group and apply to any of the research stays that you want. I don't know where, I gather Trinibua and Japan are from Ghana. And so if you align with this research group and you get in touch with the research leads, then you can go ahead. They will provide you with letters of support to be able to enjoy some of these research stays.
Thank you very much, Linda. Is there an age limit to joining and being part of G-WAC? This is from Kwame Eduse. Maybe director will respond to this.
And I think Linda is very well placed to answer this question on age limits.
Yeah, the age limit.
I guess
Yeah, okay, no problem. We actually do not have age limits in joining G-WAC. We have mentioned the various activities that G-WAC is undertaking. I don't know exactly which one you mean at this point. Otherwise, with the public lecture series, the short courses, you're already joining the short course, and there's no age limit for you. And for the research stays, there are also no age limits with that one as well.
Please, is there any opportunity for hematology researchers? If you have hematology zoonosis related research topic, can you apply for a PhD opportunity? From Stephen Chumesi. This is for the two of you, I guess.
Well, I can just quickly comment on that. What I would say is the calls, as Linda mentioned, clearly outline what the focus is. And so, well, there are elements of hematology in some of the work that our PhD students are doing. So it won't just be hematology for hematology's sake. It's all our research work is really very much applied, from the virology through to the epidemiology and surveillance and the zoonosis. Everything is applied. So well, I wouldn't say we're focused really on One Health and global health applications of the work. So if you have something that's hematological in nature, it must fit within the remit of this global health and One Health pandemic prevention or pandemic preparedness focus, and so you'd have to fit your topic or shape your topic to fit the call.
Yeah, and if I can add to that, it is very important that you go on the G-WAC website. So you go on the G-WAC website, you get into the research groups, and you can get to the research group leads, and they can have a zeroed-in conversation with you in terms of the specific areas that you would want to discuss.
Where are spillovers? What are spillovers? What are spillovers? I think, John, you may want to tell us more about this. What are spillovers?
No, I think it's a good question, because sometimes we presume that all these terminologies that we bandy around are common terminologies. So it's a fair question. Spillover is, it's intuitive in the sound, in that it is spilling over of an infection in one particular population of human beings, animals, to another. But more specifically, when we talk of spillovers in the context of epidemics or pandemics, we are talking about a pathogen moving from animals into human beings. So it's more like the pathogen didn't just emerge. It's been there all along, but it's in animals and then has now spilled over, in the literal sense, into human populations as a result of human-animal interaction. So that's the idea behind that expression, spill over. So
thank you very much.
Sorry, I just was thinking about it, just reflecting on the word. It's like, something gets so full and then spills over. So repeated engagement or interaction with animals, and eventually, as we would say in a local parlance, a broswana, a ginseng. So that's what you call a spillover.
Thank you very much, Dr. Jonamuesi. Thank you, Dr. Linda Bacha. So we are joined by Dr. Philip Elduya. Then we have Farina as well. Daniel will also be joining us very soon. So we are about wrapping up the session. We started from Monday with topic on Introduction to One Health by Volta. And then we had John make presentation to us, day 2. We looked at health systems resilience. Day 3, we look at environmental and sociocultural interactions. Day 4 was disease prioritization. And day 5 was incentives and disincentives. So what we're going to do here now is to let our moderators give us the key lessons that we've learned from day 1 to day 5. I know John has already given us highlights from the One Health concept on the presentation he made. So for day 2, we have Farina with us. If you can, Farina will tell us key lessons from day 2. And then Philip Elduya will also give us the key lessons on disease prioritization. Daniel will tell us something more also about the topics on health resistance resilience. And if there are any questions from the audience, we can pick it up from here and then give you an announcement and wrap up the program. So maybe Farina, we let you give us some the topic on day 2 on health systems resilience, presented by Ryan Buze, and then also collaborated by Daniel.
Many thanks, Michael. Yes, I'm happy to give you provide you some highlights of the presentations from Dr. Quentin about health systems resilience and Professor Buse's presentation about disease prioritization. And combination with the summary or short summary of the responses we had during this session in our chat. And I think to start with, it's very important that currently we are all around the world on a global scale trying to learn the lessons from the pandemic, and are learning, for example, from the reports provided from the WHO, the OECD, the World Bank, and so on, how to really build or recreate resilient health systems in order to learn from this shock. And Dr. Quentin provided more details about this shock cycle and explained it very well, and that shocks can also be other events, as for example the financial crisis or earthquakes, which we're experiencing lately a lot, and floodings as well. So there's an urgent need for resilient health systems. And currently, what was also asked is where's the interrelation of the One Health approaches and health system resilience. And the One Health approach can be best applied at the very first step of these so-called shock cycles, because it can help to prevent a shock actually happening. So if there's a One Health approach available, it is very good in order to provide, for example, to have a surveillance system which is systematically taking samples from animals and humans to avoid what John just explained, to avoid the spillover, or to detect them early in order to prevent, for example, another epidemic or pandemic before it develops. And what Reinhard or Professor Busse also highlighted pretty well is that there is still a need for change of thinking. So, because if we're looking at medicine, it is often very individualistic. And now we are all talking within this course about One Health. But so if we start with medicine, which is very often very individualistic, then we move to public health, then to global health, to planetary health, and then we move to One Health. So there's something where we need a conceptual change of thinking at the very beginning already. And this is something which can only be done collectively and across all the disciplines. And this requires, of course, more time and action, and also the need of data which is collected and available. So we were talking about surveillance, and I think Philip can also refer to this aspect in more detail when he rehearses their part as well. And I think basically these were the main messages from these two presentations. If there are questions, please go ahead, but I want to give some room for the other speakers as well now.
Thank you very much, Farina. So I talk a bit briefly on day 3. So day 3 was a presentation by Professor Akim Oref and then Professor Alexander Debra. The two speakers highlighted on the role of neglected tropical disease, focusing on disease emergence and re-emergence, environmental and social-cultural dimensions, and capacity building in the NTDs. Professor Akim highlighted on the 20 neglected tropical disease stemming from lymphariasis to lymphatic filariasis to onchocerciasis and schistosomiasis, and how these are focused within the WHO broad concept of supporting neglected tropical disease. A key in his highlights is trying to show how the German institutions have collaborated with KNUST in strengthening and supporting the research capacity from PhDs to masters, even to nursing programs and allied health sciences, and how this has progressed over the years. Some significant things he mentioned is about drug trials, including doxycycline, which have been used in treating lymphariasis and other diseases that associated with this condition. This is a landmark achievement that the group has made over the years. So I think in the summary, their presentation has focused on how we can look at neglected tropical disease in the concept of One Health, and how to build on this to be able to support researchers, young individuals coming up, exchange programs, scientific and international networking, and how to progress with this going forward. So their presentations, I think that has also taught us a lot, that One Health is not just about the environment, not just about climate, not just about viruses, but then parasites play an essential role. And it's important that whilst thinking of One Health, we don't overlook what we term as the neglected tropical disease, but then place this within context and work with it as we move through. So these are the key highlights from the two of them. I know Dr. Philip Eldua is on board. We heard from Professor Christian Drostin and Professor Mekwe as well, who talked about disease prioritization. So if Philip, you could give us highlight on what we heard from the two speakers.
Hi, thank you, Michael. So I will give a short recap on day 3, which had to do with aspects of disease prioritization from the perspective of diagnostics and also disease surveillance. So from a broader perspective, no matter how advanced or sophisticated your health systems are, at the core of it or at the base of it, the most important aspect is the initial identification of emerging infectious diseases. And this begins at the local community level. And therefore, makes it very important to have a good surveillance system that is in place at the grassroots. So Professor Benemikpe talked to us about he highlighted some of the methods that are generally employed in disease surveillance, which encompasses disease reporting systems that make use of, for instance, laboratory confirmation of suspected clinical cases in animals, particularly, and also in humans, and effective communication strategies and data sharing between relevant authorities like the veterinary services and human disease surveillance departments. We heard about some of the approaches employed for implementation of surveillance systems, including early warning systems for timely detection, reporting, and communication of disease outbreaks in communities. We heard about the integrated systems that incorporate veterinary, human, and environmental platforms working within the same space for disease surveillance. We were also made aware of some of the innovative approaches of disease surveillance, which make use of traditional data sources, for instance, or native intelligence, which we rely on, for instance, indigenous knowledge. From Professor Drostin's talk, we learned that wild animals and livestock can act as sources of emerging viruses. And on this, he highlighted several studies that his research group has undertaken in collaboration with his research partners in Ghana. One particular study that he highlighted had to do with the identification of a novel rhabdovirus in Ghana called the Kumasi rhabdovirus, which was detected in bats and also zoo workers in Ghana, as well as also pigs. Which kind of hinted towards a possible transmission chain between the wildlife, intermediate host, and human and humans. He stressed the need to understand more about ecological and molecular mechanisms of viral emergence, where he mentioned some of the important parameters required for maintenance of viruses within reservoir hosts like bat colonies, where the example was made of the need for young, naive members of bat colonies, for instance, to facilitate the maintenance of viruses or the circulation within these bat colonies. A point was made that not all cross-host infections may cause epidemics. So in cases where you have some pathogens jumping from wildlife to humans, or one person gets infected, it is not always the case that this translates into an outbreak. This could be an instance of a dead end infection. And therefore, the concept of the need to overcome several barriers, including the host immune system, for these outbreaks to occur was also highlighted by Professor Drosten. In conclusion, the purpose of the research that is conducted on emerging viruses to inform public health the purpose of the research is to inform public health and not rather to cause panic and fear of emerging viruses or looming pandemics and things like this. So I think in a nutshell, this was the summary for the day, yesterday's activities. Thank you. Back to you, Michael.
Thank you very much, Philip. So we turn over to our viewers now. I believe you've heard a lot from day 1 to day 5. Some of the presentations are quite technical, others to look much friendly, others appear unfriendly. I don't know if you have any questions you want to ask. You can still go to the platform, and then the moderators will do our best and then give you some responses. And then afterwards, you could reach out to some of the moderators and also some of the speakers and get some more clarification. So I have one question, and that the mode of transmission of Buruli ulcer still remains unclear. What progress has been made towards unearthing the exact transmission method to support in control, eliminating, and possible, possible eradication of this debilitating disease? This is from Mauli. Well, so let me throw this to all speakers, and anyone can respond to this, and then maybe we'll come in with other responses towards this. I don't know if Danielle or Ferina will want to highlight a bit on this response. Okay. Maybe just to give you some ideas about that. So there are groups that are working on Buruli ulcer based at KCCR, and I'm aware that they have made progress in terms of trying to look for markers that will enable one to detect these at various stages of the disease. What I don't know is whether we have been able to develop a vaccine or a complete cure for this. I don't know yet what has been done and what is the end of this, but I think you can refer to Professor Richard Phillips, the director of KCCR, who is the principal investigator for topics and areas related to Buruli ulcer, and I'm sure that he'll be able to answer and give you some highlights. I don't know if anyone has other responses. We can attempt to give him some ideas on it. But then you can go to KCCR, talk to Prof. Phillips, and you can get some updated information on Buruli ulcer and what we are doing with it. Thank you very much. So developing countries benefit greatly from collaborations. What are some of the benefits the institutions outside gain from these partnerships? I think that, Daniel, let me throw this to you. You have been involved a lot in collaborations, and you also understand how well we tend to benefit from this. If you can give us some experiences and what you know so far about the importance of these collaborations. Over, Daniel.
Thank you very much, Dr. Michael Owusu, for the opportunity. So with collaborations, of course, it's clear that it's not always the Southern partners or the Global South partners, as I prefer to term it, who benefit from these collaborations, but also there are some value benefit or added value benefits to the Northern or the Global North partners. A typical example will be in the area of developing or development cooperation. Definitely no two systems are the same, and therefore the adaptation processes or the iteration processes of implementing initiatives and interventions and ideas. And I could say that it is very innovative on their part when they are able to partner us in this, those of us in the global south, in some of these initiatives. So that could be one of the added benefits. The other thing is also perhaps the whole global agenda or the sense of responsibility that we all have to move together. We all have to be developing together. And I think I would say for most of the part, the collaborators I have encountered are to a large extent driven by this global objective that um, we are successful when all of us have made it or achieved the height that we will want to achieve. So a typical example, I mean, it's not Germany will not see itself as successful when it has achieved a certain height of universal health coverage. When, for example, Ghana is in the middle somewhere, but there is more fulfillment in this when all of us have made it, let's say, higher global universal health coverage attainment. So these are, apart from, of course, the opportunity it gives in terms of work projects, some motivated by traveling, which is more, I mean, I think it's applicable to both sides, right? So specific to the global north, in terms of the benefit of these collaborations, these are the two things I can highlight. One being the global objectives or the universal objective of all of us wanting to develop or create a better world, a better health system across the world, a global health system. And aside that, also the challenging terrains and innovative and adaptation of having to also work in different parts of the world with all the unique features that these which are different from what your natural environment exposes you to. I think Farina could also add, since Farina will represent more or less a global north person, and ask maybe more direct personal question to Farina. What benefit do you gain from collaborations as a person hailing from the global north in this case?
Many thanks, Daniel. First of all, I was thinking of the overall approach. So we cannot answer questions which are on a global scale if we're just approaching them from one perspective, from one country. We need to stop this silo-based thinking and instead collaborate. Especially, I think this was made very clear within this course, that we need to collaborate across professionals, across different disciplines, and therefore also across countries. And it doesn't matter whether it's across north and south or whether we west and east. Everything is important here in order to develop a proper response to global pandemics and epidemics we're facing, and which we will face more and more, and which will increase in the next years. And on a personal level, for me, it is very enriching and very interesting to collaborate across different countries. I've been involved in several projects on an EU level where you already also face different approaches towards the same question from people from different countries or different working styles. And this is the same if you collaborate across continents, for example, and you can just learn and broaden your horizon and get a new view on things and try to adapt yourself. And I don't know, it would be a shame if I would spend my entire life only looking on one country or looking at the persons where I have learned from, because there's so much more to learn, and I can only broaden my horizon if I collaborate with others. And I pretty much enjoy that. So during the last years, it has increased that I'm involved in such collaborations because they are so enriching, both on a personal level, but also on a research level.
Yeah, and I think also just to add a quick point to it, and so you will notice in the discourse or the literature that now most people, the earlier school of thought where it's more like global north is imparting knowledge on global south has changed, and so most of these collaborations are looking for mutual exchanges, and this is really a very important let's say vocabulary in the development cooperation and collaborations of this nature, so that exchange is not monodirectional. It means that knowledge acquisition or knowledge sharing is not monodirectional, but it is bidirectional, where we learn and the global north also learn from global south. So that's where this exchange is very important, and it can take in any form of any form really that you want to put it. Even now, financing, most financing organizations or grant organizations will always suggest what will be really the contribution from the global south for some of these projects. And you notice that it is a very important way to say that the global north also benefit, or the institutions outside also benefit from these collaborations. Thank you.
May I add one more point to your question you directed to me, Daniel? So, and the question from the participant here was also in terms of what we are winning in the North. And I think it's not about, or we should change this old paradigm of always seeing scientific relations in terms of winning, because what I see here is most of all that we are collaborating, and this is what it is all about. This is what I experience here, especially in G-WAC, that we have a true collaboration, and so everybody can learn from each other.
Thank you very much. So Philip, I know you are based in Charité, although you are in Ghana. So you also have some experiences. How does Charité benefit from this collaboration, and why are Ghanaians always on the receiving end?
Thank you, Michael. I think what I will say is that I will look at it from a different perspective, in that the benefit is from the point of view, for instance, of having general knowledge and not just local knowledge. Because in this day and age, when you have a problem in one part of the world, within a very short time, this is not a local problem anymore. It's an international problem due to international flights and greater connectivity. So if, for instance, your knowledge, and in this case, I'm going to make particular reference to diagnostics, for instance, if your knowledge is local on German sequences or things like this, and there is an outbreak in Ghana, which eventually becomes a pandemic, then your local knowledge is no longer of much use or benefit. So it's a benefit to the global north and also to the global south if the knowledge cuts across and is shared, and this informs all the interventions, including diagnostics and therapeutics, etc., to be able to better prepare or prevent pandemics. So from that perspective, it's a benefit to share knowledge between Global North and Global South to be able to put in place the proper interventions in case anything comes up. So yeah, that's the perspective that I would take on this.
Thank you very much, Philip. Any questions from our audience? Else, we would like to thank you very much for joining us throughout this program from Monday till Friday. As you already know, the program was for all individuals, groups, but especially for health professionals. So those who are medical doctors, veterinary medicine officers, laboratory scientists, nurses, you are going to get CPD points from this, and you are also going to get certificates from this. But remember that you get your certificates after doing our post tests and getting good score from the post test. And this will be one of the things that we're going to look out for. And this is only the first part of the program. I mean, the title for this was One Health Basics. We are going to have an advanced form of this, more of an in-person approach, somewhere between August and September. And then we're going to give priority for those who participated in this very session. So we will urge all of you who have been part of this to keep track, look at our websites, and then keep monitoring our programs with the hope that once we advertise this, you reach out and register and get yourself involved. And I can bet you that the next phase, we are going to interact with some of the people you are seeing online, face-to-face. You have the opportunity to visit sites, have a real case scenario of within the One Health concepts, practice this, and then at least appreciate how best to combine various disciplines in solving and approaching problems of One Health. So I think that G-WAC has a lot to give out to you. I will encourage you to keep following us, and I believe that we are really going to make impacts in your life. I turn over to Director, who is on board, to give us the very final word as we wrap up this program. Director, Dr. Moisi.
Thank you very much, Mike. And I want to start by expressing a lot of appreciation to the core organizing team, yourself, Michael, Daniel, Philip, and Verena, for making this possible. Also to our collaborators, the continuous education group, the SES group, who have provided the platform for this. As Mike said, these are major CPD points that are going to be dished out to all cadres of health professionals, doctors, nurses, allied health professionals, pharmacists. We have covered the whole lot in line with our multidisciplinary ethos as G-WAC. So I just want us to say thank you to all of you who joined in this course. We are hopeful that it was beneficial, but more importantly, moving forward, we want to improve our content and approach. So we will be reaching out to you via various means for some feedback on this this One Health short course, so that we can improve subsequent iterations for you and for others who would want to join us in this. With that, I will sign off here and hand over back to the organizing team to finally close us. And once more, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Daniel, I don't know if you have any last word, and then Phillips and Farina. Hello, Daniel. Any last word from you?
I would say the director has already done all the appreciations, and we stand on that protocol. Also to thank the participants, and there is no further word from me apart from these. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much. So for all our viewers, Thanks so much for making time 4 to 6 from Monday to Friday. We believe you are all busy, but have been able to join us. We really, really appreciate your time. And you also know that you have also benefited a lot from interacting with us. We hope to meet you between August and September and then interact more within One Health. Have a wonderful weekend, and we wish you all the best. Bye-bye to everyone. Bye-bye.
Goodbye.
Bye, everyone.